Continuing the ongoing battle in the Avdiivka sector on the Donetsk front, Russian infantry units have repeatedly attacked Ukrainian positions north of the chemical plant over the past 48 hours. Despite the response from Ukrainian artillery and sniper units, which inflicted heavy casualties on the Russian forces, some managed to infiltrate and capture dugout positions located between the village of Stepove and the chemical plant. Unfortunately, during their operation, Russian forces committed a war crime. A small group of Russian soldiers was seen opening fire on two Ukrainian soldiers who had just surrendered to the Russian forces after running out of ammunition. One of the major Russian telegram channels, Rybar, admitted and confirmed the war crime committed by the Russian forces. In response, Ukrainian soldiers swiftly counterattacked, launching an assault on the newly captured positions, resulting in the elimination of the Russian unit. According to Ukrainian sources, in addition to the attacks near the chemical plant and east of Stepove, the Russian army is also launching powerful attacks north of Stepove, attempting to bypass it and reach the village of Berdikai. The aim is to widen the front line and apply more pressure north of Avdiivka, eventually isolating the small village of Stepove, which has remained unconquered until now. Geolocated footage published by Ukrainian sources demonstrates the Russian army's considerable efforts to gather a large force for a decisive attack near Stepove. However, the photos reveal significant damage inflicted on a substantial number of Russian armored personnel carriers by Ukrainian artillery and drone units. This depletion in capabilities has forced the Russian army to rely more on large waves of infantry attacks instead of massive armored assaults. In the southern part of the front, clashes persist in the industrial zone southeast of Avdiivka and south of the Ukrainian-controlled village of Severn. Despite initial claims from some pro-Russian sources regarding the complete capture of the industrial zone, the most reliable Russian sources now acknowledge that battles are still ongoing within the stronghold, as their troops have yet to completely clear the area. Russian forces have also launched small-scale attacks towards the villages of Severn and Pervomaisk, but have been unable to make any significant advances in that direction. Moving to the Zaporizhzhia front, Russian and Ukrainian forces are engaged in combat on the heights west of Robotyne, specific all near the northern outskirts of Novoprokopivka and northwest of the village of Verbove. The relentless efforts of the Ukrainian forces have secured the majority of the strategic heights west of Robotyne, expanding the buffer zone and fortifying the right flank. This strategic advantage has enabled them to unleash their armored units in a wider front towards the south. Recent geolocated footage confirms that Ukrainian infantry forces have successfully captured new positions on the western heights, likely establishing a new defensive line along the small river that flows between the villages of Robotyne and Kopani. With the Ukrainian forces now in control of these strategic heights, the Russian army has intensified their counterattack attempts to dislodge and push them out of these newly acquired positions. Both Russian and Ukrainian sources have published footage verifying that, within the last 24 hours, the Russian army launched at least 2 armored assaults against the Ukrainian forces. Moving from the direction of Kopani, one Russian armored unit positioned itself roughly 5 kilometers northwest of Robotyne. The armored vehicles of the Russian forces were observed providing heavy cannon fire cover along the nearby tree lines. This strongly suggests that the Russian force was sent on a mission to halt the advance of the Ukrainian infantry forces in that specific direction. In another incident, a mechanized unit consisting of 2 BTR armored personnel carriers initiated an attack approximately 5 kilometers southeast of the first unit. The Russian BTRs attempted to approach the Ukrainian positions and deploy their infantry forces, but they encountered fierce resistance. With precision, the Ukrainian forces managed to strike and disable one of the vehicles using an RPG, compelling the infantry unit and the second BTR to retreat without accomplishing their mission.